Hello and welcome to Cricbuzz Live. It is the weekend approaching. It's Friday, which means that, well, actually every day means that we have exciting games. But today, it's just a little more exciting. Why? I don't exactly know, but in probably 10, 12 minutes, we'll find some way to pitch that to you. We'll try. It's Kolkata versus Punjab today. It's happening at the Wankhede Stadium. I'm Gaurav Kapur. I have with me from my neighborhood, my hood, my brother, Joy Bhattacharjya from the Good Gaon. Hello, Joy. How are you?
All very good. And as I said, this is the most honest for opening statement of a cricket show or any show I've heard.
I'm all about honesty, you know that. Okay, that's a lie. But that's my only lie. Okay, that's my second lie. But we have to say good morning to Lisa Sthalekar, who is, what is it, 2:30 a.m. for you?
Yes, it is 2:30 a.m. here in New Zealand. So really excited to be waking up with you two lovely gentlemen on my screen.
Okay, 1 second.
That's a lie too. Okay, sorry.
Take two. Just go from the top, guys. From the top. All right. So, which part of New Zealand are you in? Are you in windy Wellington?
No, left windy Wellington, and now in Christchurch.
In Christchurch. Oh, excellent.
Yes.
Fantastic. It's not Sunday, but anyway, well, good to have you here. All right. We've, of course, got this crazy game happening today. 2 new captains. And this is something that we'll be saying a lot this season. And I love it. Why not? We should say it because they are new captains. You've got Mayank Agarwal, who's taken over from his best pal, KL Rahul. He's going to be captaining Punjab today. And Shreyas Iyer, who has taken over from, well, our co-panelist, Dinesh Karthik, and Ewan Morgan. So there was 2 of them. So he's taken over from those guys. And he, is impressed. Well, even though the last game, and we spoke about this last night, Lisa, let's just touch on Shreyas Iyer's captaincy. The batters let him down, including him. The entire batting unit let the Knight Riders down. But geez, did he marshal his resources well to defend a really low score. Try to defend.
I mean, the good thing is that the experience that he got in the previous years at Delhi Capital, and to be able to now draw from that and be by himself, you kind of felt like Ricky Ponting before was kind of implementing and getting him to a certain position. And then obviously he missed last year because of injury. So I think he's a good captain. He looks calm out there. He got it quite young as well. So it's nice to see him on his own 2 feet trying to figure it out with a new group of players.
So basically what you're saying is that the Aussies are more interfering than the Kiwis?
Always.
Is that what you're saying? There you go. We've got an Aussie sitting in New Zealand. She knows, where her breakfast is coming from. So she knows. She butters the bread on the right side. But Joy, really, let's just talk about Shreyas for a quick second and his captaincy. In a tournament which, well, just 7 games young right now, but in a tournament where you're seeing, 200 being chased down every alternate day, for him to defend, sub 130 or try to defend a sub 130, I like the fact that he didn't look unfazed and he was fighting right till the end.
Yeah, look, he's a very confident young man. I've dealt with him a bit. And the big thing about it is, look at the situation. He was sitting in Delhi. He's sitting in a franchise which is a very successful franchise over the last 2-3 years. He's been responsible for part of the success when he came in as captain. Now they turned out. Now the captaincy has changed, but Delhi would have still wanted to retain him with everything they had. They would have probably given him 15 crores or 12 crores or whatever it is that he wanted as a second choice. And he says, no, wait, that's not good enough for me. I've tasted captaincy. I want to do this somewhere else. And he went out there in the auction. The second thing he did is both these teams, Lucknow and Gujarat, would have spoken to him and said, you know what, come and join us. We can do this. And again, probably Gujarat would have decided, if he was not getting the captaincy, he decided to stay out there in the middle and say, take his chances. That means he's very, very confident of his abilities of what he does. And even in Mumbai, in the dressing room, in the Mumbai sort of cricket system, he's a guy who's known as, he knows what he wants to and he's prepared to stick to it. So he has that confidence.
Just a quick question, because you've been in the auction room for many, many years. Teams do that, right? Before a big auction, a team is likely to send out feelers to a player saying, listen, we're looking at you, we're interested. Would it be feelers? Would it be proper talks? Because before a big auction, everyone's an open agent. So you're legally allowed to speak, right?
Yeah.
Are
So
you?
this time, uh,
Yeah.
you're actually legally, you're not technically, you're legally not allowed to speak.
Ah, okay. You're
Technically.
not. All right. So
Okay.
it's just like one of those Chinese whispers kind of situation.
Yeah. Yeah.
You kind of just send a little feeler out, right?
But
Just
this time it's even bigger because there
yeah.
are 2 extra teams. You need to
Mm.
tell the guy that we are going to bid for you no matter what happens, because the guy
Yeah.
has to A, refuse to be retained by his own team, and then he has to refuse the overtures of these 2 teams. Okay.
Yeah. Fair enough.
So you need,
Okay.
so obviously they need to have some sort of a confidence that these guys are going to go after us for big money.
Okay, fair enough. All right. Well, let's have a look at what the teams have done today. And one second, Kolkata's won the toss. I mean, team winning the toss is chasing. Is that as usual? 8-on-8. Is that it? Okay. All right. It is. Let's have a look at the Knight Riders 11. See if they've made any changes. Of course, the big concern for them was the fact that Andre Russell pulled up, so don't know whether he'll be bowling or not. And I think this team selection tells us that he perhaps will not be bowling because Shivam Mavi's come in for Sheldon Jackson, which means yeah, Sam Billings will be the wicket keeper. And if you're getting a bowler in for a batter, Lisa, I think it's pretty obvious to see that they're not expecting Andre Russell to bowl in the game today.
Yeah, and it's disappointing, isn't it? Because every season we look forward to Andre Russell and what he can do with the bat predominantly, and that goes back to probably 3-4 years when he had that amazing season. But we've seen him develop into that death bowler, haven't we? Where he can kind of go around the wicket and be able to hit the heels of the batter or even go for the wide Yorker. But based on what he's been able to do so far, 1 for 38 and none for 36, is he a miss? From a bowling perspective, maybe not.
Yeah, well, but Joy, I mean, I think for me, the miss is that Sheldon Jackson has looked electric on the field. I mean, in the previous game, him behind the wickets was just, it was brilliant to see.
No, absolutely. And you're not going to get the same kind of situation with Sam Billings. Sam Billings has not spent that much time with these guys. And remember, when you're talking about spinners, like the kind of, this kind of stumping, if you remember the first match stumping, down the leg side stumping that Sheldon affected.
Yeah.
I mean, he has that understanding which Billings will really struggle to get in a first match. I wish him all the best, but even Billings is not really England's first choice keeper or a first choice keeper anywhere. So you're looking at a guy who will do a competent job. But you're not talking about normal guys. You're talking about 2 spinners like Varun Chakravarti and Sunil Narayan. They're not the easiest guys in the world to beat.
Correct. And we should ask Lisa, we'll get you in on that. The relationship that a spinner has with a wicket keeper, the comfort, the familiarity.
Yeah, it is really important. The other thing to keep in mind, Sam Billings has kept for Sydney Thunder in the Big Bash. And I know Arjun Nair is not the kind of the same type of spinner as a Sunil Narayan or even a Varun Chakravarti, but he's kind of seen as a mystery spinner as well. But hopefully Sam Billings has been able to get out to training and just stand behind or get into the nets when the spinners have been in, just to see and be able to pick, because we know those little half chances, those stumpings, those little caught behinds can be so crucial in IPL cricket.
Yeah, just again, I mean, you have Sheldon Jackson, 35, hasn't got a chance for so many years, gets a couple of chances, does really well as wicketkeeper. I think that the first small dismissal in the last game has probably not helped as well. But, well, that's all it is. They're going to be bowling first is Kolkata. Batting first is going to be Punjab. So let's have a look at their 11 and see if they have made any changes to their personnel. They were absolutely electric in the previous game. We knew one was going to happen. Kagiso Rabada available. So therefore he comes in for Sandeep Sharma because they played only 3 foreigners in the previous game. So there you go. They're batting though. They're batting first. So let's chat about their batting. Mayank Agarwal, Shikhar Dhawan, Liam Livingston. We saw what Rajapaksa did to Hasaranga in the previous game. Shah Rukh Khan, Raj Bawa, Odin Smith. My God, Joy, it's like Thor's hammer followed by Thor's hammer.
Yeah, and you have Harpreet Bar at number 8, and Harpreet Bar can hit the ball hard. It's quite a lineup. And what I love about it is that, again, they're also in that kind of situation where Odin Smith has got them runs. The moment the bottom order, middle and bottom order start getting you runs, Sharik and Odin start getting you runs, the top guys are going to play with that much more freedom. What happens is if you play a match where your top 2 guys get 70, 80s and, the rest of them just get 10, 15 balls or 5, 10 balls, then they're not very sure about the guys at the back, what they can do. If you remember, they chased down 200 with their top score being about 50. And that's fantastic for the team, because that means they got contributions all the way down the order, especially with Odean Smith and Shah Rukh Khan finishing the way they did. So what that does, it doesn't just add to the confidence of Odean and Shah Rukh, it hugely adds to Mayank Agarwal and Shikhar Dhawan's confidence, because they're looking at it and saying, you know what, we got some backup out here. Let's go and play freely.
Oh, yeah, plenty of backup there. Lisa, do you think that the Punjab team is walking out and telling the opposing team's coach that don't worry, coach, your team's not playing the way you want to play, but we're going to play the way you want your team to play. We're going to back that way.
Yeah, you look at the scores and the little contributions they've all made. I look at just the six column. What was it? 12 sixes in their first game. So they go hard. They go looking for boundaries the first ball that they face. And then they go back from, I can't get a 6, I'll get a 4. Okay, I'll try and put it in the pocket and get a 2. Okay, I'll get a single. So they're always looking for runs, which is great. And like Joy was saying, if the first few games, that middle to late order can give you those small little impact knocks, then it does give so much confidence to the top of the order that they can play with a bit more freedom. So, I mean, Agarwal and Shikhar Dhawan, we're expecting big runs from them throughout this tournament, and hopefully both of them gel really nicely. But they've got a great side, and the fact that, you know, from the Indian domestic players, they've stepped up straight away game one. So I don't know about you guys, but when I looked at the auction, Punjab have actually bought really well. So and once you've bought well is fine, but you've got to get the results done on the park. So let's hope for Punjab that they don't go from literally diamonds to now rocks.
The reason why Lisa's saying it, because Punjab has done that multiple times in previous seasons. You know, they seem to be cruising and then the wheels just kind of come off. But remember one thing, there is a big name missing there, and we spoke about it so much before this tournament started, was that Johnny Bairstow's not there. I tell you what, it's just one game, but Bhanuka Rajapaksha looked at his team and said, I'm not going to let you miss that guy.
A, that. B is that, again, he has a little bit of an advantage because he is used to playing a lot of Hasaranga. Okay. Yeah. And that in the last match was an advantage. I think he's the guy, if they get an early wicket, if one of these two goes, expect him to walk in there, because he's the kind of guy they'll tell to take down people like Sunil Narayan, because he's much more used to that kind of bowling, Varun Chakravarti, Sunil Narayan kind of bowling, than the rest of the guys are. With playing a lot of Hasaranga, he'll be used to it. The other thing I was thinking about is, given the amount of dew out here, do expect Kolkata to try their bowling. Their spinners are going to come on probably much faster than they normally do. The dew is coming on at 8:30. So in the first 6, you can easily get a couple of overs of spin.
Yeah, yesterday was a bit of a water park from the first innings as well. Like I said, diving in the outfield just meant something else. You thought you probably have to give them chains to go down in an oxygen tank, because that's how wet the outfield was. But we're talking about the scoring rate of Punjab and how they're going hammer and tongs. We must talk about that for Kolkata, because even though it went pear-shaped for them in the previous game, they finished with 128, I think it was. Brendan McCullum still came out afterwards, Lisa, and I love that, because that's just the kind of guy that McCullum is. He's like, 1 loss, 2 loss, strategy failing once or twice doesn't mean we're going to change it. This is exactly how we're going to play. This is exactly how I've played, how I want this team to play, and that's how it's going to get done.
Yeah, it's pretty simple formula, isn't it? And it's worked for him for such a long period of time. And the fact that even when he went, my dealings with also in the Big Bash of Brisbane Heat, him and Chris Lynn are very much, let's just play this type of formula, this philosophy. They've got to remember as well, and he's hopefully learning as he goes through his coaching, is that not everyone is as good as him, and not everyone can play that style of cricket. So whilst that philosophy is great and it gives the players freedom, there are some players that want more information. I know, like, for instance, I know he's not big on team meetings and not big on analytics, because he was always a gut player. Now, that's great. But again, everyone absorbs cricket and what they need to do and their plan in a different way. So hopefully his backroom staff is having those little side conversations with the players that need a little bit more information and assistance. But you want calmness at the top, don't you? And Baz McCullum does give you that.
Yeah, I think right now for him the problem is that he's getting a little too much calmness at the top. He wants a little chaos, Troy, because with 1, 2, 3, you see, you have strategy, right? But then you also have to, see what your resources are. And I think Deepu, our stats ninja, has pulled out something very interesting about Venkatesh Iyer, Ajinkya Rahane, and Shreyas Iyer. He said all three of them in this tournament, they have a T20 strike rate of less than 130. Now my eyeballs popped out when I saw that, because then this is not a strategy then that's tailor-made for them. These are not hammer and tongs kind of players then, Joy. They are more kind of consolidate and accelerate kind of players, aren't they?
You're absolutely right. I think only Rahane would be given a chance to say, okay, you hold up one end. But typically, McCullum would be turning all the rest from Venkatesh Iyer to Nitish Rana, who will go and they'll probably see the left-right go as long as they can, to Shreyas Iyer to say, bang, 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 you just guys go there and hit. And he's going to tell them that 130 strike rate under the circumstances they're in is just not on. It's a very interesting thing because everyone is looking at Venkatesh Iyer and saying, this guy scores really fast. But if you look, that kind of strike rate he got as a finisher for India. Okay, That's what he got. That's 162.5 there for India. Whereas for Kolkata, he's averaging less than it's 125. Yeah. So it's a completely different game that he's playing out there. And I think, see, the other problem with them is they can't play him as finisher because that's Andre Russell's job. So how many finishers will you have? Their option then is to then say that, okay, Sunil Narayan opens. I get Venkatesh Iyer back there and see what it is. But Sunil Narayan is so hit and miss. And what's happened is a lot of the cricketers now especially, they don't want to open with Sunil Narayan because the ball is new and they'll just bowl it here. They'll just keep it here. They don't give him anything. And Sunil Narayan does not like the ball pitched up there. So that's the problem. So their situation is they cannot at this point in time move Venkatesh Iyer. What they can do perhaps is make Nitish Rana open, get Venkatesh Iyer at 3. But they cannot move him to a finisher's role because then what does Andre Russell do? He's not fielding. He's not bowling. So at least let him bat in time.
And listen, you're so right about that strike rate, Lisa, because yesterday we saw with Lucknow, Quinton de Kock played 45 balls, got 61, so ended with a 130 strike rate. And you're thinking that, okay, he's got 60 or 45. In isolation, it sounds good, but not when you're chasing 210, because then you're almost digging your team into a hole, aren't you, with that strike rate?
Yeah, you are, because it's almost like you need at least one of them to go big and the other one to feed. At the moment, based on numbers, they're all both going very similar. So the one thing that I don't want to see is Sunil Narayan to go back up to the top. I just don't. I think we've been there. We've done that.
Got the T-shirt, it's done.
Yeah, it worked for a while. Everyone's figured him out. So let's just move on. So one person has to go big, and maybe this is a chance for them to adapt to a new role. It may take a few games, and I'll be interested to see if the Baz McCullum effect gets rubbed off on to either of the openers. But yeah, you need someone to go a lot bigger and take more risks.
Yeah, that'd be great to watch because, I'll tell you something about Brendan McCullum, my top 5 batters of all time. You could wake me up just like we woke up Lisa right now at 2 a.m. You could wake me up anytime and make me watch Baz McCullum, Virender Sehwag, Vivian Richards. These are the kind of people that you want to kind of watch bat. And there's so many of them now in world cricket. So there's an Ask Cricbuzz live question. We got a lot of questions from our viewers. They are very inquisitive and curious. We like that. So Ashish has sent us this question. Andre Russell pulled up in the previous game. Despite his obvious ability with both bat and ball, what about his availability? See what you did there. Nice little wordplay. Nice. Has Kolkata made a mistake in retaining him? Whoa, Ashish! Jeez, big words, bro. Mistake? Easy now. But yeah, I think if I could just decode that question, is the packaging promising them more than the product, perhaps? Joy?
First, I'll start with one very simple thing. The worst situation that you're ever in is if you have a player like Andre Russell in your team and the question of retention comes up. Andre Russell, Chris Gayle, they're just horrible because they'll possibly get injured. Possibly given their fitness, they can't last at this level. But then you let them go, okay? They have a point to prove. They'll come back and they will score. They might prove you to be very, very foolish. So it's very difficult. There's just so much potential there, And look, KKR, nobody's a fool. KKR knows he's injury prone. His top body mass is too much. He's always going to pull up somewhere or the other because that body is not a balanced body. It's not it's too top heavy. That's where he gets his power from. So he's going to go down. But suppose you release Andre Russell, he goes and joins Delhi and then scores 450s in about 15 balls. So
is this Joy? I'm sorry to interrupt. Is there a little bit of this Chris Gayle pain from season 4 that is in your voice?
Yeah, no. But mind you, Chris Gayle, it is. But then look at the other side of it. We released Chris Gayle and qualified for the first time for the playoffs. So
I like how you're seeing the silver lining too.
Yeah, Chris Gayle got 600 runs for somebody else. And the worst part of it is the first match he played against KKR, he got a century. Correct. He never got a century for KKR. His highest for KKR was 86 or 84. First match against us, he got a century. So, yeah.
I remember that. You remember that. But Lisa, yes. I mean, is it then, is it some kind of a negotiation, a compromise that you reach saying, all right, Andre, we're going to send you at 5. You're going to give us those fireworks and just try to give us 2 overs. Let's not try and get 4 from you. Just give us 2. So we have that balance and we probably might not come to you every time. But if you do, we just want 2. So because you can tell us as a bowler, does that change your training a little bit? Does that change what happens? Because we've seen so much of that discussion with Hardik as well in recent times.
I think you want to know the context of where you're going to bowl, and that will change what you're working on. So I mentioned earlier about him bowling just at the death, literally the last over or the second last over type thing, and him just being able to execute death bowling to perfection. Whether it be those Yorkers or he bowls into the pitch, short deliveries, takes the pace off. So you can be really specific with your training because no doubt I would imagine Andre Russell is the type of player that doesn't do a lot of extras, maybe a lot of extras in the gym, but maybe not a lot of extras on the actual field. So you want to get as much as you can out of him when he finally gets to the training ground to work on his skill level.
Interesting. Okay. Oh, well, it is something for the Knight Riders fans because he's such a big player, and when he gets going, he really is kind of magical for them, isn't he? All right, let's quickly run you through the 2 11s before we get the joy factor question in. We'll just bring you the Knight Riders 11 first. They're going to be bowling, of course, so Lisa will get you in on their bowling. Nothing to talk about with Sunil Narine and Varun Chakravarti, of course. You have Umesh Yadav, who's just been absolute fire up front, hasn't he? Let's talk about him with a point to prove. Just not picked up by anybody. Comes in, he's not been playing in the last couple of years in the shorter format, not for India, not for his franchise. Sometimes that's just the kind of fire that you need to become a rocket, right? Just a little fire in your backside just takes you into orbit.
Yeah, sometimes when you're overlooked and you're not seen, or everyone just talks about how many runs you normally leak, there's a chance for you just to almost stop and reflect. And when you get to a certain age as well, you start to kind of go, okay, you start to put things in perspective a little bit more, and you start to train smarter. So you start to figure out, well, what do I need or what can I provide a franchise? Why would they select me now? So sometimes it's just a little moment like that, a light bulb moment. But I'm glad to see him being as successful as he is already. I mean, 2 for 20 in his first game is always good, and it would give him a lot of confidence to be able to kind of produce that the first match. And you've got to remember that this IPL with 14 games, it's all about literally seeing if you can get a bit of confidence in what you're doing, and if you can do that early on, then it holds you in good stead when batters come at you pretty hard.
Joy?
Yeah, the one thing I want to say is that absolutely right. I love the way he's bowling. But the other reason that he used to not play regularly for RCB was the fact that he's a brilliant first few overs bowler. But by nature, Umesh Yadav is not a death bowler. Now, Kolkata got away with it in the last couple of matches because you had Russell also bowling at the death. So Saudi and Russell were bowling at the death. Now that is going to change, and that will be interesting because I feel they'll have to go with Mavi because if you have to use Umesh Yadav well, he's burst up front, try and get wickets. If he gets wickets, maybe even slip in a third over, give him a fourth, somewhere in the middle. But he's not a death overs bowler, never has been. And that's one thing now. If Russell does not bowl, that's something that they'll have to retool and wonder as to say, does he need to bowl the death?
You might just even see a Sunil Narayan over at the death. You never know, because they've done that as well. So you might. It's really interesting to see that bowling combination today, because they've made a change and they're playing three quicks. You've got Shivan Mavi there as well to join Umesh and Saudi. And then, of course, you have Varun Chakravarti and Sunil Narayan. Okay, let's have a look at the points table before we close the show. What's happening? Who are the ones who do not have any points? Well, none of these teams. It's Chennai, Mumbai, and Hyderabad. Pretty much all the people who won trophies in the last 7 years. All down. All down, languishing. So Hyderabad won in 2016, right? Before that, a non-Chennai Mumbai was 2014, right? Which 2014 was KKR.
That's right.
These are all the winners from 2015. 15,
16,
16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. That's 7. The last 7 titles have not got a point yet. They are the bottom 3. So interesting to see. All right, let's have a look at the joy factor question. And in the meanwhile, Lisa, start thinking about your score prediction. We're going to start with you. So there you go. Joy.
Okay, what connects an under-19 World Cup winning captain, Indian under-19 World Cup winning captain? I hasten to add, a veteran of 4 IPL franchises ending with the Pune franchise, an IPL winning captain, not an under-19 captain, and a current star with the Lucknow franchise. What connects these 4? It could be a name, it could be an institution. I'm not giving any more hints.
Wow.
I love these type of questions at 2:30 a.m. in the morning. They're great. Absolute gold. Love it. Thanks, Joy.
Here's the thing, Lisa. Most people ask questions and you can kind of just follow the breadcrumbs to the answer. I don't even know where the breadcrumbs are. I don't even know if I'm looking for panko or regular. I don't even know if they're breadcrumbs. They're probably just fish bait. I don't even know what's going on with this question. But if you guys know, then hashtag Cricbuzz Live, send in your answer on Twitter. And of course, we've already given you the prize today. Yeah, what is the prize? You say, what's going on? What you talking about, Willis? I'm talking about Retro Reels, which is Joy's new show that has dropped today on Cricbuzz. That's right. It's been streaming today. It's only on Cricbuzz Plus. But I tell you what, and this is not April Fool's joke. It's available on all our platforms for free. That's right. Everybody, all access. That's right. All access. So go check it out. Joy, saw the first episode. Absolutely loved it. I think it's amazing. I'm really looking forward to the next one.
Thank you. It was so much fun. It's unbelievable. It's so much fun.
Yeah. So much fun to watch as well. I'll tell you what is most fun over here, our guessing game. So quickly, let's get our guesses in before we scoot and skedaddle.
187.
187. Jeez, are going big. All right, it is bunker day. You're right. Joy?
I am in a very good mood. 201.
Whoa.
So 187. So I'll just go somewhere in I'll go 195 then.
I think we're all going to be 50 points runs off.
We're really not budgeting for a collapse, are we?
No.
Just aren't. All right. Well, come on. Let's go big or go home, right? Well, we've gone big, but now we have to go home. We're all home anyway. But we're going to see you at the... Yeah, we're home. And all of you are home as well on Cricbuzz Live, aren't you? Well, that's all we have time for on this sappy episode. We're going to see you after the 10 over mark on Cricbuzz Combox. Big thank you to Lisa and Joy, Gaurav Kapur. This was Cricbuzz Live.